What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about an update on Gander, Newfoundland, a very special place in Canada where many Americans were taken in on September 11th, 2001, when most airplanes had to make an emergency landing during the terrorist attacks that were happening here in the United States. Since today is September 11th, I thought this would be a great opportunity to check out this video. This is an update on Gander, Newfoundland, over 20 years later. So, let's take a look.
Meet Mr. Mosier. He says I should call him Brian now. After all, it's been 20 years since he was my teacher. But he'll always be Mr. Mosier to me.
You know how you tell how old you are in a high school?
How?
By how far down the hallway you are.
Right.
See, the pictures start back there.
This is not good. I don't know about.
What is this? This is a school? This is a school in Gander. I from what I can grasp here. Did she say that is her old teacher there? He was her teacher 20 years ago when 9/11 actually happened. She's a news reporter now? This is very meta. She's the news reporter, but she also attended this school in Gander, and that's her teacher. Wow.
You are like right before the next quarter.
This is Gander Collegiate, GC as we call it here. Gander's only high school, home of the Concords, and on September 11th, 2001, home to 357 stranded passengers.
That's right. That's right. In case you haven't seen it, I did like a 3-part video series learning all about Gander, Newfoundland, 9/11. Incredible story. Amazing. And actually kind of disappointing that more Americans don't know about this incredible role that this place in Canada really played in helping a lot of Americans in a really, really hard time, in a really, really horrible situation. It really turned into like a beautiful, amazing moment for Canada and America, really. So, a lot of Americans ended up having to make an emergency landing in Gander, Newfoundland, which, you know, to be completely honest, just like the Americans that landed there, I'd never heard of it before. Americans don't know about Newfoundland, let alone Gander. But it's just this amazing story. And yeah, they were given shelter. They actually stayed in this school. A lot of Americans took refuge in this school that we're visiting. Ah, yes. Okay.
You might know Gander's story. Aviation history, 38 planes forced to land as U.S. airspace closed, a tremendous community response, a hit Broadway musical.
What? What? Wait, what? Huh? What do you mean? What do you mean a hit Broadway musical? What does that mean?
Response, a hit Broadway musical.
Credit, Come From Away on Broadway. I'm so confused right now. There's a Come From Away. What is that? This is a musical? This is a hit Broadway musical about what? Gander, Newfoundland? 9/11? Like this whole incident is a Broadway musical? Is that correct? Like maybe Canadians are aware of this. Maybe you know about this, but trust from my point of view, this is just incredibly random. Okay. Hit Broadway musical. Come From Away? Never heard of it. I might have to check that out sometime. Okay, that came out of nowhere.
That moment rings through these halls, etched in the memories of the people, students and teachers.
This is your first year in an advanced math course.
I was in this same advanced math course on 9/11 when an announcement was made.
The principal came on the intercom telling students to bring their books home, any medications or whatever they need for the next few days.
Oh, wow. This is very interesting because seeing the Canadian point of view on 9/11 is interesting. So they were in school, just like I was, I was old enough to remember being told like 9/11 was happening, and I'm here in America. Like, I wasn't like in New York or anything or any of the other areas where planes actually, impacted places, but it was terrifying and just surreal. And it's interesting because most of us Americans, if we were children, like I was, when you heard about 9/11, you were in class, you were in school, which seems to be the exact same experience of a lot of Canadians. I didn't know that, actually. I had no idea about that. In America, you were in school. Teachers started making sure that all the televisions were off, that none of the news was getting through, at least in my experience. And I think a lot of other people I've talked to, teachers weren't allowed to really tell you what was going on. That was the strange, scary thing in America. They decided that all the kids would basically just be sent home and the parents would explain what's happening. Like, honestly, that's basically how it worked. It was a very, very bizarre time, and I think there's like a saying in America of like everyone remembers where they were when they were told like 9/11 was happening, that the terrorist events were taking place. Everyone remembers, like, and that's true for me as well. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Any medications or whatever they need for the next few days. That's when we're told we had to turn the school into a hotel.
You might have heard of Brian Mosier. The reporter character Janice Mosier in the musical Come From Away is partially modeled after him.
What is what is this? This is a musical, Come From Away. It's about Gander Newfoundland 9/11. I think it's called Operation Yellow Ribbon as well. I had no idea about this. This is fantastic.
Tom Brokaw phones me. Tom Brokaw. He's doing a documentary, and since I was the only reporter in town, I'm the only one with any footage. So. Tom Brokaw.
What? Is this like a comedy, kind of? You made 9/11 into a comedy? No. I get it. Seems like a fun musical. I'm gonna have to like learn more about that later.
Tom Brokaw.
But Mosier also wrote a media course and successfully petitioned the federal government for funding to create a TV studio in our high school.
Oh.
A lot of times
He wanted his students to get real journalism experience. And did they ever? On September 11th, Jane March was in his class.
And before we knew it, he was saying, get the camera and go to the airport.
No way. Really? This guy's a legend. He was like the, video media arts teacher teaching a class on journalism. And then the events of 9/11 were happening in Gander and the airport and the Americans coming in. And he just said, kids, get the cameras and go cover this. It's a little strange of a reaction, but it's a very, very, that's a journalist reaction. One of the worst events in American history happening? Okay, get the cameras, go, document. And, I think now we can say we're glad he did, because now we have extra video footage of this event.
To get the footage of the airplanes landing.
And after that, like so many other students, she was back at the school volunteering, serving up food, and organizing toiletries.
Wow.
For 5 days. When she wasn't here, she was working at the local grocery store.
Wow.
It was very stressful for me. I was very quiet. A lot of them didn't speak English. They were passing me money, and I remember going,
Oh, that's right. So a lot of them were Americans landing in Gander, but there must have been a lot of people like just taking international flights, not necessarily American, didn't necessarily speak English, I guess.
oh my goodness, now I have to figure out how much to give them back.
But a lot of growing up happened for Gander teens that week.
Right.
Then I kind of stopped and thought about it, and I'm like, I'm worried about whether I'm giving them the right change, and they're worried about whether their families know they're alive.
Why? She she sounds a bit Irish or Scottish. Is that like the Newfoundland accent? I'm just now picking up on. I was like, wait a minute, she sounds like Irish or something.
Here has said, please.
All raise your hands.
I think we've all done that.
March has come full circle and is now a teacher in Gander, alongside
wow.
her best friend, then and now.
Right? Luke, can you tell me a way that you were kind, my sweet?
My friends do their work.
Awesome.
Together, they are passionate about teaching young children kindness and compassion.
That's pretty cool. Like actually getting to interview some of the people who were just like teenagers when this actually happened, and they actually like were there in Gander, like helping people, like bringing them food, like going to the airport. Like, this is pretty cool.
Like a lot of kids will know sort of that, a bunch of planes landed here a long time ago before they were even born. They might know those details from their parents, but the thing that we, kind of teach from when the first day they enter is kindness, and how little acts of kindness, lead up to be big things.
Almost all
Wow.
of the former students I've been speaking with have mentioned this brown piece of paper. They didn't know it was still here, now mounted on the wall in the school, but it was put here in this exact spot during that week in September 2001. And the passengers filled almost every inch of it with heartfelt messages of
Oh, wow. Wow, that's cool. They got a big message board, like signing a yearbook. But it's all the passengers that were in Gander writing nice messages. That's fantastic that they found this.
thanks. Like this one. To the City of Angels, Gander. Happiness is hard to come by in this life, and you have given us more than our share.
Wow.
Or this one. If we could only Ganderize the whole world, what a lovely little planet we would have.
Ganderize.
The world became so small really, really quick. And I think that's what sticks with me today.
For Jennifer and Trent Skanes, it was an intense cultural exchange. Trent's family had 6 stranded passengers from Mexico and Pakistan stay in their home.
Oh, wow.
That experience, I think, really just exposed us to things that we wouldn't have seen. Now, on that day, I think it was more like, where am I going to volunteer? I wonder where Jen's going to volunteer.
They had met only days.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that, like, for a lot of these people, their very first thought was, like, how can we help? Because it's interesting to hear this from Canadians' point of view. For Americans, the initial reaction, since it's happening, like, in our country, to our people, it's like a reaction of terror, shock, then anger, and then, like, how can we help? Like, I don't know, all a mix of those emotions where, I don't know how Canadians really felt, if you felt like, are we in danger? We're kind of close to the United States. Are we gonna, like, be next? Like, was there any fear for Canadians during 9/11? Or was it mostly an attitude of, like, oh, geez, I feel bad for the Americans. How can I help? So, yeah, that's interesting for me to kind of think about.
Before.
Again, with that kind of emotional boiling pot, I suppose. It's that intensity. It's like a movie, right? It can bring you closer a lot faster than other circumstances. And
It was just nice to see that he was willing to, kids
helping
are
is hot.
Now living in Mount Pearl, married with 2 kids, they insist they were just doing their part.
Wow.
None of this feels like a unique story, for the two of us. People tend to think it is.
That's so Canadian of him. Very humble, very down to earth, very like, what? Nah. We helped like tons of people who didn't have a home, like get back on their feet. Nah. That is just another Tuesday for me.
Everyone went through this. Everyone had an experience and a story to tell.
Yeah, what can I do for you today?
Dr. Chris Downton sure has a story. He has a family practice in Vancouver, but focuses on global and refugee health.
So I think that that drive to connect to people of different backgrounds, and that's something that's still a strong desire of mine, and
Cool.
and I think can be brought back.
I was wondering who this was. I was like, who is this doctor? It's a former student. Yeah, all these people are basically students in that one school in Gander.
Back to some of those first exposures to diversity and international events that took place in 2001.
Yeah.
It also gives him hope.
Is I think remembering that in times of trauma and catastrophe, humans can come together and achieve something despite differences. It gives me some hope that that we can do the same to solve some other problems.
Yeah, seriously, like what took place in Gander on 9/11, 2001, that does like give me hope as well. Like just such a wholesome, nice story in the middle of such a chaotic, terrible event. It's again, I keep saying this, like more Americans need to know about this. I think 9/11 as a whole, that was the story that was the story in America. So this story in Gander, like this amazing story, like never really got its due, like its time, its moment or spotlight in America. And I think that's a little sad.
Like many of us, he comes back to Gander regularly. Newfoundlanders are drawn to home. Perhaps it's the same sense of belonging that made some of those passengers here under the very worst of circumstances.
That sense of belonging with your Irish, Scottish accent. No, just kidding. But it is unique.
Not want to leave, and in turn helped shape the lives of a generation of students.
Yeah.
They really gave of themselves. They could have taken that week off. School was closed. This school system has produced some great people that have gone on and made their mark in the world.
The tragedy has not been forgotten, but 20 years on, there is still pride here, displayed all over town.
Wow.
And those young people, they're pretty grateful to have been raised here, among people who showed them the meaning of community and connection.
Wow. That was nice. Yeah. This is just something I kind of wanted to do, in a sort of a remembrance kind of way. Today is September 11th. So, yeah, I thought this would be nice. This was better than I imagined, getting a little update about Gander, because I did learn about all this quite a while back. This is really cool. And it just reminded me what a special moment in time this really was. Like, yeah, that's awesome. Anyway. If you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on 9/11, your experience with it. Especially if you're Canadian, hearing that point of view would be very interesting for me. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.